This household is almost as disturbing and violent as the Benoit household in June of 2007. I'm John Renton with the retro review of People Under the Stairs, written and directed by Wes Craven. Wes Craven's most underappreciated movie, in my personal opinion. Of course, it's not perfect, but of course, it's called People Under the Stairs. You can't expect anything highbrow, but it's a lot of fun, very entertaining, violent, with a good old-fashioned dose of racism, and the racists get it in the end. Hooray! Honestly, this movie is very underappreciated. It came out in 1991, and Wes Craven hit most of the high notes. Obviously, there's a lot of cheesiness in this, and considering it came out, 31 fucking years ago, the fashions and a whole bunch of stuff has aged like milk left on the dark side of Neptune. But there's a lot of heart to this. There's also a lot of hearts cut out in this movie, because the People Under the Stairs feast on human flesh. If you've never seen People Under the Stairs, there'll be spoilers, because, sorry, the movie's been out for 30 plus years. But let me know your thoughts on this movie in the comments, please. It centers around just a few people. There's Fool, whose actual name is Poindexter, played by Brandon Quintin Adams. Had to write that down because I didn't want to get that one wrong. And then Ving Rhames plays Leroy, not Jenkins. That actually would have been really, really funny if they decided to do that, but that meme came around a lot later. And Bill Cobbs is in this. Not Bill Cosby, rather. We do not have any women being drugged on set, thankfully. Bill Cosby deserves a rotten hell for all that shit. No, he was the guy that got killed in The Shining. You remember that? He's also a terrific character actor. And then there's Everett McGill, who's also a terrific character actor with a hell of a face for horror movies. There's Wendy Robbie. And then there's AJ Langer, who plays their daughter. So yeah, this movie's really, really fucked up and messed up and violent and gory and hilarious at the same time, and also showcases just how insanity can drive people, well, more insane. When you keep inbreeding, like this family has, as is revealed a little bit later in the plot, you get to where you're more and more insane. Man and woman are not parents, they're brother and sister, and boy, do they have a you got a pretty mouth, boy. No, I've never played the banjo, I apologize. I don't even think I could duel with a banjo, because I don't duel. I don't challenge people to a duel, I don't duel with banjos. Enough about banjos, let's get back to this. Wes Craven understood how to do horror. Rest in peace, Wes Craven. He did great stuff with the Scream franchise, even though, obviously, Scream 5, if man is still alive. Unfortunately, not Wes Craven. And after that movie is done, an original cast member wasn't alive. I'm keeping that spoiler-free, but check out my long review of Scream and my love and appreciation of the Scream franchise. So basically, the story involves Fool, on his 13th birthday, being taken to the house of their landlord that has basically let so many buildings fall into disarray, collecting, high rent for basically having people live in, like the ghetto and just living in poverty. And they have a house that's pretty much like a fortress, and they collect all this money, have this classic car and this great house and everything, but they don't want to be in this neighborhood, but they want to keep collecting the money. And also they have People Under the Stairs. If you didn't figure that out from the title, I really can't fucking help you. Why did they have People Under the Stairs? Well, it turns out that they wanted a baby boy. They kept stealing kids from the neighborhood. And either they were a lot of white kids or a lot of black kids that, had a lot of sunlight taken from them, and it just got to the point where they were all just pasty white and spacey-like. It was almost like they were from that Subspecies series, which is a real callback, and I actually haven't seen any of those for a while. I should watch that. Actually, one of them kind of looks like if the Crypt Keeper had human hair. And this, it's just ridiculous. It's 100% ridiculous. It's fun, though. It never gets boring. It does get silly. In fact, it pretty much starts silly. Leroy's get-rich-quick scheme ends up involving him, a friend of his named Spencer, with an S, 2 S's that is, because Spencer is on guard. Maybe not make that joke there. And Fool ends up being the only one left alive, and there's a vicious dog that really just wants pets and sausages and doesn't want to be trained to be a vicious killer. It's a giant Rottweiler. And also there's a lot of screaming. And the man, Everett McGill, is dressed up in a gimp outfit hunting people. Why? Because why not? I mean, why the hell not? Why wouldn't you do that? If you're in a house like this, with a bunch of passageways and a bunch of tunnels around your house, why would you put those there and not expect some bullshit to happen? There are people locked in the basement, and they are fed people that just happen to wander in. And that happens with Spencer, that happens with Leroy, not Jenkins, and Fool has to find a way to get out, but he meets their daughter, Alice, and finds a way to get her out, and everybody's happy. Yeah, this movie's batshit insane and ridiculous, but it's also fun, extremely fun. Again, it's called People Under the Stairs. It's got this kind of stuff on it. Yes, it's got Ving Rhames with that hat on it. The hat that has become a major meme lately, or has risen up as a major meme. Fool finds out that there are people in the basement. There's also this character named Roach, that, if I recall correctly, I think it was the same guy that ended up in the Twister movie, and I believe it was also the one that did that Got Milk ad, where he couldn't answer a particular question because he had a peanut butter sandwich and couldn't finish that, and couldn't, rinse his mouth out to answer correctly, and he would have won a cash prize. That is a major fucking callback that I don't think anybody fucking gets. I think that was a guy, if not close enough for rock and roll. So, yeah, the people are basically starved and then fed human flesh, and they get flashlights and our stuff somehow so they can do this and have a rave show down there for whatever reason. The house gets locked down. Everybody dies except Fool. But Fool, of course, is an entrepreneurial fuck and also very, very smart, and decides, I'm going to just bash their heads in. I'm going to escape, but I'm also going to bash their heads in. Hate to say it, but if two people I was interacting with got killed because racism, oh yeah, there's a lot of racism. A couple drops of the N-word, which I could have done without. I'm not going to repeat it here. Do not repeat it in the comments or I will have to ban you, because we don't do that shit here. The Gimp hunting outfit was just absolutely fucking hilarious. The boys in the basement, explained by Alice, weren't perfect, so the bad parts were cut out, like the tongue, or pretty much the tongue. I think that's really about it. A lot of them really couldn't talk. And you can't see no evil, you can't speak no evil, you can't hear no evil. Oh no. Not See No Evil with Kane, or See No Evil 2, Why the Fuck Did We Make This? That's not the title, but it should have been. So, yeah, they kind of punish Alice, the brother and sister do, by scouring her body in a hot bath or whatever. It's like, it's hot, but the fires of hell are hotter because they're so goddamn disturbed. The whole reason that everybody broke into this house, by the way, was to get to a treasure. Gold coins and money that happened to be in the basement. Just, once you get, through some security stuff, it's just right there piled, like goddamn, they didn't even bother to neatly stack it. Sure, nobody was going to get in there, but still, it's all just right there. And this guy Roach ends up getting killed because he's one of the ones that got out, and he's Alice's friend and helps Fool, but eventually he gets shot, but shows him the coins and says, rescue Alice, and then he dies. Because medical treatment, and also the fact he was about 90 fucking pounds, so I think a bullet could have just touched him and would have gone into his goddamn spleen. So, the dog ends up getting stabbed at one point, which I could have done without, but then again, the dog was mean and unsalvageable, and poor dog ended up getting stabbed. Poor Rottweiler. It's like that movie Man's Best Friend, except... No, actually, you know what? That Man's Best Friend movie is pretty goddamn shit. I'm not going to watch that. Or Turner and Hooch, or Cujo, or stuff like that. I don't watch stuff with animals that get killed, except Jaws. I mean, Jaws is a giant shark. I mean, really, you don't go near the water, you won't have to worry about a shark. Dogs, they can't help it. Yeah, that dog just wanted a bunch of pets and everything. But man and woman, that's what they're named, by the way, in this movie. They basically were, I guess, if I recall correctly, reading IMDb, Wes Craven saw them on an episode of Twin Peaks and decided they would be perfect for this. And I could see that. I could see Wes Craven getting some inspiration from Twin Peaks, even though Twin Peaks never made any goddamn sense. But then again, it's David Lynch. What David Lynch made ever made sense. It was fun, but never made sense. Some of it was just weird. Some of it didn't make sense. Some of it was Eraserhead. So enough about David Lynch. They're about to escape, both Alice and Fool, but no, only Fool escapes because Alice is scared because she's never been outside. And Grandpa Booker, Mr. Cobbs, appraises the coins and says, we're going to take them to a coin collector. You got enough to pay your rent pretty much till the year 2000. You're my great uncle from the year 2000. And also to pay for his mom's cancer surgery because his mom has cancer because she's sick. Because, of course, why wouldn't she be? And all this stuff's going to work out. But then Fool says, hey, wait a second. I need to go back and get Alice. I'm going to call the police. The police show up and investigate some child abuse. And it turns out actually that, mother and, man and woman, they play dumb and nice. And then the police don't do a very thorough search of the house, because if they knocked on any goddamn wall, they'd see, hey, there's a bunch of guns, there's a GIMP outfit, there's this. Why in the world, does this basement smell like death? But they don't figure that out, because it's not time for that to be found out yet. So, Fool gets in there and ends up getting caught by the man and woman pretty quickly, goes for the eyes in the GIMP outfit, and then hits woman in the leg. Pretty goddamn funny, in my personal opinion, because it's always good to see racists get their comeuppance, and also idiot. I mean, they're kind of idiotic, if we're being perfectly honest. They're also sick individuals. Yeah, it turns out that Alice actually isn't their daughter either. Alice got kidnapped. Big shock right there. He frees Alice. Alice ends up escaping. He says he's going to free the, people under the stairs. But that not before they throw a rock down the chimney, hit man in the head, and then attack the woman, who ends up trying to get to Fool, but then, well, Fool's sister shows up, and all the townspeople. I make it sound like they got pitchforks and hand grenades, or pitchforks and torches, pitchforkses as it were, and they basically decide, hey, we're just going to stand up for this. But then they get easily outsmarted. Alice had dropped down and beaten her mother's head into the ground. But then at this point, the man goes in the basement, shoots out the lock, and the people get freed. They take Fool, and they're like, hey, over here. Go to this furnace area. Or not this furnace, but this embalming area, because it was an old funeral home. And all this money and gold coins and stuff is strewn about. So he comes up with an idea, because there's a security system on there, to use these wires to blow this shit up, because there's dynamite all over the house, because somehow, in the midst of Fool leaving, the pool got drained that he dropped into, and Alice got captured. They somehow managed to rig the house with dynamite. Why? Why the fuck not? It's called People Under the Stairs. Not logic should be dictated by, logic and sense. Let's just throw dynamite in there. So he has dynamite rigged, and then decides to blow the thing sky high. This is after the people get the woman, which is rather hilarious. Alice ends up stabbing her, and then the people get her. And then the man gets blown sky high, the money flies out, and the people get free. Okay, so here's a question, though. I mean, they're people that have been trapped under a basement for so long and beaten down mentally, and the way they've been fed. I think they're safe to be out in society. Wait, I'm thinking too much and too deep into something called People Under the Stairs, which is rather good. It's a rather good movie. So check it out. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Retlin. I'll see you soon.